Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we're back to talking about regular business stuff, but it is still during the time of the pandemic. And so it's been interesting doing interviews the last couple of weeks, because even though we're recording this in May, and this is going to go live in June, things are still going to be in an upheaval. They'll still be in an upheaval for months. Hopefully not much longer than that, but who knows? But it is changing how we're doing business. And so we're going to have a great conversation today about, just a lot of really fun stuff. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun talking to this person before we ever even started. And so please join me in welcoming Paula DeCrescentis to our program. Welcome, Paula.
Hi, Deb. Nice to be here with you. You made me feel so comfortable, so I think we're going to do great.
Oh, we're going to be just fabulous, just like we're old buddies. So let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll dive into this. So it takes persistence, ingenuity, and quick response in today's real estate market to be successful. People who work with Paula get all of that rolled into one when she is their agent. Paula's understanding of the excitement, anticipation, and magnitude of investment helps give her a perspective of the whole buying process and experience, which puts her clients one step ahead in their buying or selling venture. Once people know Paula, they know her outgoing, embracing personality isn't just an act, but genuine. Like her clients, she takes great pride in her home in Arvada, Colorado. Her house is home to two canine companions, Katie and Lacey, who might put in an appearance because they own the house now that Paula's boys have grown and left home. They are first in her heart, but they do take second place to her 7 grandchildren. So again, please join me in welcoming Paula DeCrescentis to our program today. Welcome, Paula.
Hi, everyone.
Well, this is so much fun. And of course, when we set this up, we had no idea that we would still be homebound, that we would, I love it. I talked with somebody, it's a matter of perspective. We shouldn't say that we're stuck at home. We're safe at home. But you definitely have one of those careers where that is difficult, because you are a real estate agent. You're a residential real estate agent. And so, let's go back just a little bit. How is it that you decided that this is your passion in life?
Well, I'm a people person.
Okay.
And obviously selling real estate, we have a high contact with lots of people,
Mm-hmm.
which keeps me energized in this life.
Mm-hmm.
I love what I do. I love the people that I work with. And I owned a business prior to real estate,
Okay.
which was people related.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just something that I've always been drawn to.
Mm-hmm. And let's be honest, right now it's difficult. It is just very difficult. Even as things are loosening up, there's going to be restrictions that may be in place for years. There's going to be concerns that people will have. Even though things might open up, people don't always want a whole bunch of strangers in their home. Now they really don't. And so how, there's just a lot of things that are going on. How have you found that COVID-19 has impacted your business and the way that you try and do it?
As far as impacted, it was going very well until about April. And as most agents have experienced, there's going to be about a 2-month, they're shut down,
Mhm.
I guess you could
Right.
say.
Mhm.
But we are, now that they're doing safer at home,
Mhm. Mhm.
we have guidelines from the Real Estate Commission,
Mhm.
lots of disclosures that are being signed by buyer and seller.
Mhm.
As
You get to
far as
go through the questions. Have you, do you have the snuffles? Do you have
absolutely, and
Mhm.
we have to have them signed
Right, right.
and in
Oh,
their
yeah.
files.
Mhm.
I think the real estate attorneys are just, sweating
Oh, yeah, they're
profusely. They
salivating.
don't know they don't know what's going to happen.
Mhm. Mhm.
If someone happens to bring COVID into a home,
Right. Mhm.
we
Mhm.
it's just the unknown, just
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
everything else. So what we're doing with listings is after each showing, which the showings are staggered.
Mhm.
It's no longer free for all where you have a whole bunch of people in the house,
Right.
no open houses.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
after each showing, some agents are going through and cleaning down
Mhm.
the entire house.
Right.
Some agents are choosing to take their buyers in with gloves on
Mhm.
and Clorox wipes,
Right.
and we are
You don't touch.
exactly, we are instructed not to tell them not to touch.
Mhm.
2 people only, no children in a showing.
Mhm.
So that makes it a little more difficult
Mhm.
with families,
Right.
but that's kind of the
Mhm.
standardized rule right now.
Mhm. Right. And thank heavens for technology. Because we've obviously done pictures and videos of homes for quite a long time, but now, I mean, that's just absolutely going to be critical because we really, I'm assuming you can't really have as many of the looky-loos as you used to. So it's almost that they have to qualify. I'm kind of assuming to make sure that they really are interested, and it's not just, oh, the house down the street's for sale. Let's go look and see how they decorated.
Yes, no open houses are allowed. Virtual tours.
Hmm.
And, with times like this, it brings on the best in everyone.
Hmm.
So the virtual tours are becoming better and better
Right.
so that you can view the house online.
Hmm.
And that's all it was for like the last 30 to
Hmm.
45
Right.
days.
Oh, yeah.
Now we do have the opportunity to
Hmm.
take our people in, but with all those
Hmm.
restrictions. So the starting place for most buyers anyway these days is the internet.
Hmm.
I think I haven't read this latest statistic, but it's probably about 99%
Hmm.
that they start looking online and
Right.
then and they're able to see the
Hmm.
virtual tours and all the pictures.
Right. And the nice thing is this isn't just in one little area. It's all over, and so we all understand what's going on. And but yeah, it really is something that is obviously a challenge. I'm thinking from the seller's perspective, it's kind of a good thing because there's not as many people coming in and out, so they don't always have to make sure the dishes are clean and the beds are made. But yeah, it is a challenge. We live in a cul-de-sac here in Atlanta, and there were actually two homes, and one is another one is on the market. Two of them sold very quickly during the middle of all of this. It was early enough in it. I shouldn't say middle. It was right at the start, so they were able to have an open house.
Mhm.
But they got offers, which surprised me that people are still even wanting to buy because of the uncertainty. Am I still going to have my job in 3 months, in 6 months? All these various things. And so have you found that things are kind of slowing down just because of the uncertainty?
The uncertainty really hasn't slowed people down that really they were positioned to buy or sell anyway.
Right.
Some buyers are thinking we might go into a recession,
Hmm.
but that truly isn't the case. Just recently listened to a podcast with the chief economist of
Hmm.
the National Real Estate Association.
Hmm.
And what they're predicting is that little slowdown for a couple of months, and that our selling time usually starts in the
Hmm.
spring and we kind of taper off in
Hmm.
the fall, where they're expecting a 2-month delay.
Okay.
and that we're going to get
Mhm.
roaring again because of the low interest rates.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, why pay for somebody else's
Mhm.
mortgage?
Mhm.
Pay for your own mortgage. And again, the interest rates are so low.
Mhm.
We're supposed to gear up again, and then our season's going to last into the later
Mhm.
fall, where it would normally kind of
Mhm.
simmer down a little bit.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
and what they're predicting is maybe 1 to 2% appreciation. We're not going to have, normal is 4 to 6%
Mhm.
a year. But we've been just shooting up 10,
Mhm.
15%.
Well, yeah, things were really good for a
Just
long time.
crazy,
Mhm.
right? And so what they're thinking is this slowdown is only going to give us maybe a 1 to 2% increase this year, but then we'll get back to normal next year.
Mm. Mhm.
So
Yeah, I mean, from an economic standpoint, yes, there are certainly lots of places that are, and lots of people who have been hit very hard. But a lot of other people, it's just kind of like you said, kind of a pause, a slowdown. So it's like, okay, well, we're just going to wait for a little bit and then go forward.
correct. They're not expected to see this huge recession like
Mhm.
2008
Right.
because of what the interest rates are. I
Mhm.
mean, 3.25%, 3.5% for
Right.
a 30-year mortgage is just amazing.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, and we talked to our new neighbors, the people who bought one of the houses, they're just across from us. And I said, I really was kind of surprised. And they said, well, they all along had known that they were going to be moving. They were renting before, and so they had saved up, and she has a very secure job. He is in commercial real estate. So he said, that's a little bit different right now. But, this was definitely something, as you said, they had planned that this was what they were going to be doing.
mm-hmm. Yes. And price wise, they're not getting as many multiple offers, but we're still getting more than one offer.
Right.
In most
And
cases.
not lowballing. That's been the other
and
thing.
not lowballing. But on the other end of that, overpricing is being checked
Right.
by the buyer. And so people aren't willing, unless it's the deal of the century and their dream home in their dream neighborhood, willing to spend those thousands and thousands of dollars over. But we also aren't seeing, like you said, lowball offers on houses unless they're overpriced anyway. So
right, yeah, and so the market is just basically adjusting itself.
it's correcting itself. Absolutely,
right.
Yes.
And it was interesting because we talked to the people who moved out, and we said, what are you going to do? Because they had planned just to rent for a while. And it was, it was a situation where both of them were driving. And here in Atlanta traffic when everybody's working is horrendous. Now it's not bad, but they had planned to move simply because their commute was just not good, and that was not going to change. And so they said, we're rethinking. We're obviously going to rent right now, but they're probably going to buy again very quickly. They said exactly for what you were saying. The interest rates are so low. It's a really good market. And they said, and there's still a lot of good properties that are being offered.
We still are lower inventory, which is why we have multiple offers. But I go back to you're paying for the landlord's mortgage when you could be putting that money in your own pocket.
Right. Oh yeah. Which is what, if you can afford to buy a house, that is of course one of the best things.
Absolutely.
Is, why not be building your own equity?
Correct. And there's so many different loans, and they're still out there that are to be offered. And I, in particular, just recently purchased again, moving closer to the family, grandkids, kids, from the other side of town. And instead of putting my 20% down, I put 5%.
Wow.
Found a house that I wanted to make my own and doll up and make pretty, that it had the major things done. And at the end of the summer, I can have an appraiser come in and it'll have its increased value,
Right.
and that MIP goes away. So that is just one way where I use what would have been my down payment money to make my house look remodeled,
Right.
rather than put it down and then sit in the house wishing that I had the money to remodel it.
Yeah, or doing it as a much slower process.
Right, and that's not my personality, so.
Yeah, I'm kind of like when I want it done, I want it done.
Yes,
Now.
and I'm sitting in happiness now. So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and I won't have that mortgage insurance premium at the end, and I was able to qualify for that. So that's what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. And so, for people who are thinking of, buying, I mean, if you're pretty secure with your job situation,
correct.
Now really would be a good time to get out there, but just understand it's different. You're not going to be going, like when we bought our house here in Atlanta, we moved here 8 years ago. It was a fairly quick move because it was a corporate relocation. And so we were having to move pretty quickly. And I remember we saw in one day, like 13, 14 houses at least. And there were even more that we drove up to and went, no point in even going in. There was just something about it we didn't like. And we thought, no need to waste our time. But those days, for now at least, are long gone. I mean, aside from anything else, who wants to basically disinfect yourself that many times? So exactly. As you said, we're going to be looking at the online resources and seeing, okay, we want to look at this one and this one, and then going from there. So that's where, as the buyer, you've absolutely got to make sure it's a spectacular, online piece of real estate that you're showing.
To know that you're showing people what they want to see. I personally, when I have a couple, I tell them to make a no peeky list. I call it their no peeky list. The wife goes off and lists 10 to 20 things she wants in a house. Husband does the same thing. Most of the time they talked about it, but I have found over my 20 plus years of real estate that there's always a silent partner in the relationship.
What do you mean you need a giant bathtub?
Exactly. And they don't voice their opinion until we've already looked at many homes and all of a sudden this is a very important thing. So I tell them to make their no peeky list and then come together, and we have to have the top 5 can't live without from both of them.
Yep.
And then everything else is like the cherry and whipped cream on the top that we get. And that has been very, very helpful for me in order to service them properly.
Right. Yeah. And now, especially because you're weeding out the ones that would be a waste of time. And when you have to go through the whole process of shoes off, gloves on, mask on, not touch, you want to take them to the top 2 or 3 as opposed to the top 10 or 15.
Correct. But then there's also not limiting them. There are times when there's things that they don't know that they like until they see it. So, you throw your hand, but when it's a total, I don't want to say dump, but if it looks like it's going to blow over, probably not the time to be messing around looking at those. That's true.
Unless their top thing was fixer upper.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah.
So, we were talking before we started that one of the difficult things now is the fact that we're not having business meetings. We're not networking. We're not out there getting our information out there. And I know, especially for a realtor, that's really important. I belong to several business groups here in Atlanta, and there's always realtors there. And it's great because there's usually somebody who has worked with them who can say, "Oh my gosh, you really have to talk to Paula," or whatever. And so, how are you getting yourself, your brand out there? Since we can't go and meet and greet and shake hands and do all of that good stuff right now.
Well, from the beginning of over 20 years, have belonged to a coaching company.
Okay.
And it's all about calls, notes, and Popeyes. So obviously my Popeyes that I did for my Mother's Day clients consisted of me dropping off the plant with, they always are looking for their little garden gloves.
I know. I put mine on the other day and all the fingers were gone. And I'm like, what the heck?
Right. And so put it on the step. We talked through the door. I was able still to make face-to-face contact, which is the way I like to do business best with my clients.
Right.
And then follow up with a note. I've been sending out little inspirational things because, you know, we're all kind of feeling cooped up. And I have these little cards. They're called thoughtfuls. And they're little things that you can, and this is called Savor the Moment. It says, be happy. And then when you open it up, it says, savor the moment, search for a little joy, and you will find a great deal of it in unexpected places.
Oh.
So I send them little happy notes. And these are my clients that have been my clients for years. Just because we buy and sell doesn't mean that I just go away. I'm very relational. And so there's lots of parties throughout the year that we can't do now. Those client parties I usually have in the summer. But so we just have to think of new and creative ways. And another way for professional marketing, we've been doing the Zoom or Google Meet.
Whatever, I know. And Facebook's getting one. I mean, you know, it's
everybody has one right now to stay in touch. I belong to like I said, the Buffinian Company, and I am a virtual group leader.
Oh, okay.
And so once a month, there's real estate agents from across the United States and Canada, and I head the group, and we bounce networking ideas across the globe, I guess you could say, for what we're doing in our area, and support. It's also for support. Hey guys, you know, what can we do here? So there's ways to do it but it's a lot more fun in person. Right. I think we'd have to agree with that.
And I mean, and that's the hard thing. And it's going to be difficult when we are able to go back to having those things. You know, will we shake hands? Will we hug? You know, I'm not sure about that. There's no way I'm going to do the foot tap thing because I'll fall over. You know, and you know, and somebody said fist bump. Well, you know, okay, but you're still getting, you know,
the virtual slap.
I know. Yeah. You know, and
high five or fist bump or whatever.
So I love that you're still putting a lot of personal things in there, with the Popeyes and things like that, and the personal notes, because I think for many of the people that I've been talking with, we're more and more, because, you know, this is continuing, you know, here in Atlanta, you know, we're loosening things up, but businesses are keeping things, you know, a lot of people are still staying home and will. I mean, you look at companies like, I think it was Google and Facebook have both announced they're not really going to open back up. You know, people, they've discovered, and I've, you know, this been one of my assumptions through this whole thing is companies are going to figure out that employees can work from home.
They are responsible. They can do this.
Yeah, you know, and why pay that rent, which is holy, you be glad you're not a commercial real estate agent, because I'm guessing a lot of companies are going to be going, you know what, we don't need all that space. You know, we might need for meetings, we might need something, but we don't need all that space. So I'm sure you're having a lot of people saying, I need a home office. You know, Paula, I need a home office.
in our personal, as far as real estate, it has been evolving towards that anyway with mobile agents. And so now everybody has to be a mobile agent, has to learn how to be a mobile agent. I, in particular, have been a mobile agent since day one. I have a home to call home, Remax at Cherry Creek.
Mm-hmm.
but I do my work right here in this office. I've
Right.
always had a home office.
Right.
And yes, about people when they're now in COVID and they have to be stuck in the bedroom
Mm-hmm.
corner as their office, they're rethinking whether or not they want to move to a bigger place
Right.
if they can
Mm-hmm.
and have that home office.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, and it is something, you know, like I said, I mean, this is going to be something going forward, even if it's not that they're home full time.
Mhm.
You know, I've talked with people who they're thinking, okay, they're going to be in an office 3 days a week and home 2, or, you know, something. And so they're really looking at what do they need to be able to work from home. You know, I think it is going to cause some big shifts. You know, it's going to cause shifts with you know, I know one of the things I was talking to somebody about was again a real estate transaction, and they said, of course, the hard part is closing. You know, and how you do that, and you know, and how technology is changing with e-signatures now being accepted, and you know, all sorts of things. And of course, it varies state to state, and some might be temporary changes, and all sorts of things. But I think we're going to see that happening with a lot of businesses where we're discovering we don't have to meet face to face. But I'm like you, there's going to be a lot of times where like, I need to meet somebody. I need to see a person.
Well, you know, you bring up the closings.
Mm-hmm.
I had one, most recent one that was in April.
Mm-hmm.
That and all the title companies have different rules in the
Mm-hmm.
way they want to
Mm-hmm.
do this. This one in particular didn't want anyone coming into their building or
Right.
their office.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a curbside closing.
Mm-hmm.
So the title gal came down with the pile of
Mm-hmm.
papers.
Mm-hmm.
I was out of the car. Normally I would sit right next to my
Right.
buyer and
Mm-hmm.
seller.
Yeah,
but
to
I wasn't-
explain if they've got questions, or you can point
Right.
out, oh,
And
that means
that's-
this, or mm-hmm.
But the way we were able to overcome that was they then got her cell phone number and she went back upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And she explained all the paperwork as if she was sitting right there.
Wow.
Only she was upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And then the two of them
Mm-hmm.
signed in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it was all done, she came back and got
Mm-hmm.
all the paperwork,
Mm-hmm.
did the copies, brought them their stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
they got the keys to the property, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how we did that closing.
Wow.
At my office, our title company will do an in-office
Mm-hmm.
closing in our big, because we have the great big conference room.
Mm-hmm. So you could be over there and you could be over there.
But buyer and seller separate.
Mm-hmm.
So buyer come in and do it, and then seller will come
Mm-hmm.
in. And so it just depends on what that title company, how they decided to
Mm-hmm.
handle the closing. So
Right. Yeah. You know, and I think that's going to be going forward. What's going to happen with a lot of businesses, you know, do we have to meet in person? You know, and the nice thing is technology. I mean, you know, hello, we're 1,000 miles apart. You know, and it's just like, you know, you're on the other side of my desk. You know,
okay.
and so, you know, and you know, things like that. But I think it is, you know, it is going to be one of those things where we still need that personal contact, you know, and so it'll be interesting to see I'm thinking August-ish is when we'll really start thinking, okay, can we meet again? You know, can we have, you know, a chamber meeting or something? We had an online meeting with one of my business associations, and we did a Zoom thing, and it was cool because there were enough of us that they actually then broke us out into groups, and we had discussions, and then we came back together and when we broke out, and so it was very cool. But you know, they were talking about when they were able to, you know, if we're going to be back. Well, one of the things, and I don't know if this is Georgia specific, we can't have buffet food lines anymore. Well, it's always a buffet food line.
Right.
So probably what will happen is either boxed lunches, if they're still even feeding us. I mean, you know, we might not get fed anymore, which that'll be annoying because I love all the caterers, or they can serve us, you know, and you know, and so it can still be kind of the buffet line, but they're putting it on the plate and handing it to you. But, will you have a big enough space where, as opposed to 8 people at a table, you have 4, and you're just spreading people out more, and a lot of things like that. And it really, I think we're going to see a lot more things that are broadcast, so we'll be showing, the speaker as a Facebook Live presentation or a Zoom or something like that. And so that'll be interesting too. But it is difficult where it's a profession like yours, like mine, where seeing somebody face to face really is the preferred way to network.
Well, it's human, I think more human nature and human, you've got to have that personal interaction rather than doing it this way. But technology, look what they did with The Voice last night.
Right. Oh yeah.
Put it in perspective of what day it is, and how they pulled that off. And I found it to be, it wasn't, I was thinking, they probably would have been, had them all dolled up with stylists and dressed differently and whatever, but it really brought them down to who they were, and it was actually very enjoyable.
Right. Well, and we were talking before the program too, news broadcasts where, they're not going into the studios, they're, or the late night talk shows, or they don't even have to be late night, where they're doing them like this. They're doing Zoom for the most part. We've decided that's going to be the new noun. You Google somebody and you Zoom. I mean, doesn't matter what technology you're using. It's just going to be there. But they're having to do their own makeup. We've been laughing, about the COVID hair, and seeing like the personalities. I mean, that's what's funny is when we see the celebrities who they're not getting their hair done either. And so that's kind of interesting. And so it is making us more human, I think is what you had said, when we were talking before the program. And like your dog, you haven't noticed, but one of your dogs has been going back and forth a bit. And I've just been very amused by watching one of the dogs go back and forth. But that's what happens. When we're home officing, we have real life that happens. And I think that's going to that'll be fun. We get to see people and know a little bit more about them.
No, that's very true. Very true. I didn't know she was going back and forth. I thought
every once in a while she stops and she looks at us like, what the heck are you doing?
Is it black? Was it a black one?
It's the gray one.
Oh, the gray one. That's the Schnauzer. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely the Schnauzer. I didn't know if they were both Schnauzers but yeah, it's the Schnauzer. But yeah, she does. She stops and she looks at us like, what are you doing? And a lot of the interviews that I do, many of my guests are home office. So this isn't a huge difference for me, but it does make things a little bit different. And because, we are, like we said, we're getting a glimpse into somebody's personal life. And I would think, especially as someone like a realtor, that's going to help you because you're going to understand, oh, hey, those people have dogs. We need to make sure that we're looking at a house that has a yard or is close to a place to walk or whatever, because it might be something that they forget to tell you. Or you can, maybe just from pictures on the walls, you can get a little bit of an idea of what's going on with them. And again, I think that's going to be a benefit.
Absolutely. Now I'm looking forward to the challenge. It's going to be a challenge, but I enjoy my clients. I enjoy what I do. When I did one client of mine, and this will probably be sent to my client, my database. And she looked at me and she goes, "You're still doing this?" And I went, "I am, because it brings me joy."
Right.
Yeah. You got to enjoy what you like to do. Yeah.
It's funny. I know you've got the saying there on your desk that says, if you need to do what you love to do.
Yeah, there you go. Find something you love to do, and you'll never have to work a day in your life.
Right.
So
and it's funny. I've talked about that saying with other guests before. There's still work to it. I mean, and home officing, if you're not used to it, it definitely brings challenges, and there's of a variety of things, but, you still like, I have to invoice. I don't like invoicing. Now I love my clients because my clients pay on time, so I don't have to nag them. But there are things that you have to do that you're not always thrilled with. My husband is home officing, and he is normally in a big office with a big support staff. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. And I know that other people have really had challenges where, they're used to having, say, an IT department or someone who is helping them do some of their work, and that's not possible. So, that is going to be one of the big changes that people have to adapt to.
Well, it's the team mentality on a mobile platform.
Right.
So what don't I care to do? I don't care as much to just have my face in the phone and be posting social media stuff. That's just not my thing.
Right.
But it's a very integral and necessary part of my business right now. Right. Everybody's business.
Oh yeah. We're all online. I mean, that's.
I have a wonderful gal in New Mexico, actually. She doesn't even live here in Denver. Her name is Allison Davis, and she is my social media gal.
Yep.
So we have our monthly calendar, what she wants from me. This will be given to her, and it's her job to make sure everybody gets to see my happy little face on social media.
Right.
And so I have that team member. I have my transaction coordinator team member. I have my public relations team member.
Who I know.
I know, and I know too, really, really well.
You've known her longer than
all
I have.
my life.
Which is
And one thing that her name is Jane Vorak, JKD and Company. I went back to my maiden name 6 or 7 years ago. So I've been in real estate with a married name, an ex-married name, I guess.
Right.
Former married name.
Yeah, so you've rebranded yourself.
I had to rebrand myself, and we had a name change campaign about 6 years ago, and oh my gosh, it was so much fun because we were going and doing videos in the old Italian neighborhood that I grew up in, and what it looks like now compared to what it was then, and all that kind of thing. And it actually, just your exposure it was one of my best years ever.
Wow.
And Jane won an anvil, silver anvil.
Yeah.
She won an award for that. And she gets to have her sister's name forever embedded on her silver anvil. And I got to go to New York City back when it was safe.
When we could travel, yeah.
And we could travel and do all that. But we had a great time. But it was a great experience. Great experience to do something like that. And that I'd recommend that if someone's stuck, if they need to somehow rebrand themselves, absolutely.
Right. Well, and now might be a good time to be thinking about that. To be thinking, okay, I am going to be home officing. I'm guessing there are a lot of people who, by choice or not by choice, are now thinking they're, going to open up their own businesses, from their spare bedroom, all these various things. And so branding is going to be very important. And I think we're going to see, yes, it's rough right now, and we certainly feel very bad for the people who have completely lost their jobs. And, and who knows, especially some of the industries, if they're ever going to recover. But I also see so many opportunities. Virtual assistants. I think, you mentioned yours. My producer is a virtual assistant. She is in New Jersey. And so, I think that is something. I've seen one of the things is that, sometimes companies are thinking, I'm that person, I might not need 8 hours a day. And so, so they're thinking, oh my gosh, now I'm only working 8. Well, hey, that gives me, so they're doing kind of a job split thing where they're doing one thing for 4 hours and another thing for 4 hours, or, however they're doing that. But yeah, I see this as a great time of opportunity once we kind of get past the, oh my gosh stage.
Well, and I'm very entrepreneurial,
Mm-hmm.
minded.
Mm-hmm.
So I see there's a lot of new home businesses
Mm-hmm.
that might be created, which is
Right.
awesome.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That
Well,
would be awesome.
and if somebody is tech oriented, oh my gosh, writing apps and things like that. It's funny. We've been trying to order out once a week, for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is I get tired of cooking all the time. And I know my husband gets tired of eating, when I'm cooking all the time, but we also like supporting, the businesses around us. And so we did choose a true local restaurant earlier this week, not a chain. And and they just opened. It's very interesting. But when we ordered from them, it was the platform was a little hinky because they didn't tie into something like Uber Eats or anything like that. They're doing it all completely by themselves. And so I called. I said, did you get my order? Oh, yes. Did you understand it's a delivery? Oh, yes. Okay, fine. And then pretty soon I get a text message saying your order was accepted. Okay, that was cool. But then I get a text message saying we're terribly sorry, but your order has been declined. I'm thinking, oh. So I called and spoke to the same very nice person. And I said, I'm very confused. And she said, ugh. She said, we don't know why it does that. And so, yeah, somebody who could do that. Or, I had a virtual doctor's appointment yesterday. So that's kind of a whole weird thing. But the reminder message I got was, see you in our office soon. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I don't think I'm supposed to go in. And so I called and they said, no, you're not supposed to come in. And, they were having people show up. And I said, well, that's why. But yeah, if you're a tech person who can do things like that, oh my gosh, or from a real estate perspective, all of the things like we were saying, the virtual tours, people who can do those and know how to do those well, all sorts of things. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there.
Everybody has a specialty
Mm-hmm.
within themselves.
Right. And now is maybe the time to think, oh, I could do that.
Know they can do something better by having to come into the house and only do
Mm-hmm.
home officing.
Mm-hmm.
We probably have to think of many ways to be creative and recreate ourselves
Mm-hmm.
in order to keep our face in front of our clients,
right,
in some way that is approved,
mm-hmm.
is socially acceptable
right.
now.
Right.
And do a good job of it that
Mm-hmm.
way and still be able to move forward with your
Mm-hmm.
business.
Right. And we've been talking about the fact that, people can go into new careers. What about people who are thinking, maybe I should become a realtor? Because, we've talked about the fact that it's still a good market. So what about people who want to become realtors? Is now a good time for them to jump into this?
Well, anytime's a good time to jump into a business.
Mm-hmm.
I think realistically, people have to know that when you start a new business, which I've done successfully twice,
Mm-hmm.
You don't see your results for 12
Mm-hmm.
to 18 months.
Right.
Roaring results.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a great time for someone to go into real estate
Mm-hmm.
if they have a relational-minded business
right.
in mind.
Right.
So
yeah, let's talk about that more, because I think so many people don't, and it's funny, I've talked about this with other guests. It is about building relationships with people. But it's as we were saying, it's very tricky now because we're not seeing them face to face. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think a lot of younger people coming into the market, mm-hmm. not only as realtors, but also as buyers and sellers, mm-hmm. They're accepting the online practices a whole mm-hmm. lot more mm-hmm. than what people have traditionally been used to mm-hmm. when it comes to buying and selling mm-hmm. real estate. So if you are a young person coming in, it'll be natural for you to just start in with social, Instagram, and
right.
The social.
I'm going to do TikTok.
Facebook and the TikTok and everything else and whatever, Snapchat or what else comes along down the road. They're more, they're easily, they'll go that direction, I guess you could say. They grew up with this. They feel very comfortable with this. But they still need to keep in mind that you have to still stay connected personally with your clients. I don't think that would ever go away. And, you know, the time will tell. Right. But I think people still need, as we were discussing earlier, they need human contact to some degree. I think they do, it is more streamlined when we get into a lot of online stuff. And it obviously makes things go much faster. I mean, you used to have to deliver a contract at 9 o'clock at night for a signature, right? Right. Yay, you don't have to do that anymore. And, but what it has done is I turn into a pumpkin at 9 o'clock because you can't send me something until midnight, you know, online. So there's a lot of good and bad, but on both sides, you know, and so the bads on either side kind of can get brushed away, and we got the good for both sides. That's what we need.
Yeah. You know, and it's so many people, I think, we get into this mentality of whatever it is that we're doing, that it's a one-time type of product or service. And there certainly are, you know, in some cases, but usually you're building a relationship, you know, we're back to that. And, you know, but it is, in many cases, it's long-term. Home buying is obviously long-term for the most part. I mean, most people don't, you know, every year buy a new house. You know, that's, you know, and every 5, 10, you know, somewhere around there. I saw a car ad last night where they were, it was 0 financing for 84 months. That's 7 years. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't keep a car 7 years. You know, but it really surprised me that automotive manufacturers were thinking that's okay, because, you know, I would have thought they wanted you to change much more frequently, but, you know, this is part of the whole COVID thing, is they know that finances are tight. So let's tell people they can push their payments out, all those various things. But it is, you know, it's about staying kind of top of mind. And, you know, I'm going to get back, you know, and talk about the things that you were doing right now with sending people things, because you know that, you know, the person who bought the house from you last year is not going to buy another house for a while, but you need to still stay top of mind with them, because not only are they going to buy another house at some point, or at least sell theirs.
They have family and friends that will.
Yeah, who are going to say, you know what, we're ready to buy a house or buy a car, or, you know, we do whatever. And so you want to be that person who's top of mind. And some of that is social media posting. But, you know, it's also the reaching out, you know, and some people think, oh, that takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of effort. That takes a lot of money. Sure. I mean, you know, when you were delivering plants and gloves to, I don't know how many you delivered to, but it was not, you know, a $10 prospect. I mean, this was something that was, you know, an expense, but it's worth it. You know, and obviously, depending on what you're doing, you scale it. You know, if you're only making $10, you know, when you do something, well, then you're probably going to do something smaller. But, you know, but yeah, just little things, and saying thank you. You know, I mentioned the fact that, you know, we had ordered from this little local restaurant. I got things in the mail from them. I got thank you online. I got all sorts of things. And I'm like, okay, you know, the food was good. We will order from them again. You know, even though it was kind of a convoluted process and I ended up talking to them 4 times to make sure I got my order, it's still, you know, there was that personal touch, you know, and maybe more than anything, the fact that I could call and get a person was good. You know, there was somebody on Facebook the other day who was posting that she ordered her groceries through Instacart. I've not tried that. I have a husband who goes to the grocery store, so he's my Instacart. But she ordered through Instacart and got the entirely wrong delivery. Not just one or two items wrong. She got somebody else's delivery. And so, of course, didn't notice till they had driven off. And she said, what do we do? And my first thought was, well, you call the store and you say, oops. And she did. And they said, it's not our problem. You need to contact Instacart. Well, that's kind of like trying to find somebody at Google. There's not really people there.
That's frustrating.
Yeah. And so that's back to that relationship thing. If I'm going to call, I want to get a person. Even if that person tells me, you know what, I don't know, but I'll try and figure out how to get you that information. And so I'm sure that when people hear from you and know that you took the time to send them the little card, to drop by the plant and gloves, they're like, okay, I remember Paula. Paula's going to stay top of mind.
And then when I say, oh, by the way, if you have any family or friends that are looking for a realtor, I would love to get in touch with them.
Right. And then it's not coming across as being salesy,
right.
Because it's just kind of that gentle thing. And of course, what you're giving is probably branded. It's at least got your business card. It might not be that the gloves have your stuff printed on it, but yeah, there's a little something there so that because they might not be home when you go, but yeah, I mean, it's those little things. And I'll be honest, I like the personal touch. Just getting the block email that goes to every single person in somebody's database. I know why they do that. I do that. But I also know that there's absolutely no personalization. And what I really love is when I get dear first name. I'm like,
oh, I did that just recently by mistake.
Oh yeah, and those things happen.
I hired a person to do all that for me. And she made that mistake. But I got so many responses back. There is, oh sure, it was XXX, XXX. And I got a lot of people because I know them well enough and they know that,
and then you turned it into a personal contact.
Absolutely. Didn't do it on purpose.
Right. We just, back to what we've been talking about the whole program is that we're very isolated right now. So however you can reach out to potential past, current clients, do that, reach out to them, even if it's just a quick call, all of those various things, or, quick little personal email. I love, I've started getting messages through Facebook Messenger from people, and it kind of throws me a little bit because, now I use Facebook for personal and for business.
Right.
But it does kind of throw me when it's like a business kind of, and I'm fine with that. But, but that comes back to maybe knowing, okay, well, this person, and some of this is an age thing, they might prefer getting a text. They might prefer this, but they also might prefer a phone call. And hello, we all have caller ID. If I'm not wanting to talk to you, I'll let it go into my voicemail. And
then you can listen to it. Right. No, I think everybody wants to be recognized and hear a voice.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And if you can set up Zoom calls or, Microsoft Teams or Google whatever's, that is something that I think people are really wanting to, we're needing to see people.
FaceTime phone calls. Yes.
Oh yeah. And that's one of those things where as we were saying, I'm not seeing that changing because I think we are going to be more self-contained. Whether it's people who, their kids aren't able to go back to school. Okay. So they're going to have to work from home. Or their office is saying, you know what, 50% of you are in this week, 50% of you are in next week. So that, there's going to be so many different things that again, there's going to be so many opportunities, and so folks, see it as the opportunity as opposed to, oh on. And how can we do this? How, and embrace it. I'm one of the things that I'm really hoping is that we continue to see so many people spending family time.
Right.
We've got a big trail behind our house. We walk our dogs there virtually every night. And oh my gosh, the last, it's really funny that, the trail was closed for a while because it is a public space. And so they shut it down. And then when it reopened, it was like, yeah, any public space that reopens, right? Every person goes, but now we're seeing the families, and I love seeing the families out taking that evening walk. And we've started doing a thing here in our cul-de-sac where every Saturday evening, we all get together. We play cornhole. We're going to try a thing, not this weekend, but in coming weekends where we're going to try and do movies. So we'll have movie night outside, and the nice thing is we've got enough space where everybody can space their chairs out and it's not a big deal.
The big projection.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've got all the, what they used to say on $6 Million Man, we have the technology. I've got the toys, so we'll see if this will work, but there's so many opportunities now that it's not as bad as we think it is.
Nope. And it's all going to get better. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a new normal. Right. That's true. Mm-hmm. It's just stay connected, be of service to your clients, enjoy the people that you work with, and you'll get the the outcome. Right.
And follow the safety procedures that they're saying. You were mentioning that homes, they're saying you do this or you do that. You know what? Yeah, wear your mask. If somebody gloves, I'm a little shaky on because the second you and of course I'm really bad even with my mask. I touch my face, and if I could ever get my hair cut, that would be that's all part of the problem. But yeah, and so it is going to be a new normal that we're having to deal with. Okay, fine. We had to deal with a new normal after September 11th. These things happen, so. You whine a bit and then you go with the flow.
Right. We'll figure it out.
Right.
It's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It'll be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Positive thinking.
Yep. Most definitely.
Yes.
Well, Paula, I know that you're located in Denver. Yes. So, and so that does kind of make your market at least the Colorado area. But tell people how they find you and connect with you.
Well, I have a Facebook page, Paula DeCrescentis Real Estate. My Instagram is Denver Homes by Paula. I have website, the Denverpolitan Team, or remax@cherrycreek.com. Lots of ways to get in touch with me, and you can always give me a call.
Great. I love it.
And I am here for all your Colorado referrals. Mm-hmm. So give me a call and I can put you to the right person if it's something that I don't personally do. But I know lots of people over these 21 plus years of real estate.
I love it. And it really has been a delight getting to know you and getting to really chat with you. This has been so much fun, and we have to do it again. It'll just be a great time to catch up. But until then, do you have any final thoughts for everyone?
I do. And I was thinking about this because Jane and our dad, he was a very positive person. He taught Dale Carnegie courses when I was in high school. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And as a teenager, when you get the grumpies, here's a parting thought. If you alter your thoughts, people and things will alter towards you.
Oh, perfect. And that's just a perfect thought for right now. So I'm Deb Creer. I've been having the most wonderful time talking with Paula DeCrescentis. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.